Yes, this happened. Hello, I'm the host, and today I'll be reading from our subscribers. So let's jump right into it. My daughter's father-in-law ruined our lives. He took our house, our life savings, our peace of mind, and most importantly, he took my daughter. This man, who is now my son-in-law, comes from a wealthy family. Money doesn't grow on trees where we come from. My parents raised 4 children on a single income. There were times when we had to choose between buying food and paying the light bill. But my parents taught us that if you work hard and play smart, you can achieve anything. Well, the same cannot be said about my daughter's father. He has never worked a day in his life. His father made him a partner in the family business so he could cash in on the profits. And now he's planning to milk this business dry. When my daughter was dating this guy, I saw red flags everywhere. He was lazy and smelled strongly of entitlement, but my daughter insisted that we give him a chance. And who am I to deny my little girl's happiness? Unfortunately, her happiness didn't last long. From the moment they got married, her father-in-law started calling the shots. He convinced my daughter to leave her job and become a full-time homemaker. Then he offered my daughter his house so she could live with him while her husband finished his studies. But it wasn't a gift. No. Her father-in-law offered them a deal. He would give them his house in exchange for 10% of the house. Plus, they would have to pay property tax and all the utility bills. My daughter refused at first, but her father-in-law wouldn't budge. So they had to accept his terms. Soon after moving in, my daughter realized that she was being treated like a servant. Her father-in-law constantly criticized her cooking skills, told her how to clean the house, and even gave her a monthly allowance. When she complained about it to her husband, he said that she was overreacting and that his dad only wanted the best for her. That's when I stepped in. I called my daughter and told her to stop accepting her father-in-law's nonsense. But my advice fell on deaf ears. She told me that I was being insensitive because this was her husband's family. Then I asked her if she was happy. She said, "Of course I am." Well, that was good enough for me. Parents don't always know what's best for their kids. So I backed off. It wasn't easy for my daughter. She had to swallow her pride and fight for her place in that house. She stopped accepting her father-in-law's checks and paid all the bills herself. She also started cooking meals for the whole family, even though she doesn't know how to cook. After 6 months of misery, my daughter finally found a job. I was so proud of her for standing up for herself. But her father-in-law wasn't happy. He told her that she was pulling her weight around the house and that she should quit her job. Once again, my daughter refused to listen. She told her father-in-law that she could handle both the house and her job, but he wasn't having it. One night, he came home late and found my daughter asleep on the couch. Apparently, she was waiting up for him because he had to sign a check for her. He woke her up and screamed at her for being lazy. He then fired her from her position as a homemaker and told her that she had 30 days to move out. Now, this may sound like a happily ever after moment, but it wasn't. You see, my daughter's husband was halfway through his studies and could afford to buy a house for her. Plus, he wouldn't stand up to his father, so my daughter had nowhere to go. She called me in tears and asked me to lend her some money. I didn't hesitate for a second. I sold my car and lent my daughter the money. She bought a cheap house in a bad neighborhood. Meanwhile, she was still living with her father-in-law, trying to sort things out. Then something unexpected happened. Her father-in-law broke his leg in a skiing accident. He was bedridden for a month and needed someone to take care of him. My daughter was more than happy to help, but she had one condition. She would move back in if he paid her a salary for being a homemaker. He agreed. And that's when my daughter moved back in with her father-in-law. Now, you must be thinking, what a selfless daughter-in-law she is. Well, think again. From the moment she moved back in, she transformed into the evil stepmother from Cinderella. She yelled at the maid for not finishing her work on time, told her husband that he was undoing enough to take care of his dad, and started bossing him around. She even gave him a list of chores to do every day, which included washing the dishes, vacuuming the house, and cleaning the toilet.
I don't know what kind of upbringing she had, but she certainly knew how to make someone feel worthless.
Then she turned her attention to her father-in-law. She forced him to sign a contract that stated that she would get 10% of his wealth. if she took care of him for a year. She even hired a nurse to watch over him and make sure he took his medicine on time. My daughter wasn't satisfied with this arrangement, though. She started telling her father-in-law that he didn't know how to take care of himself. She said he needed full-time care, and that she was worried about leaving him alone for too long. She then suggested that he move into a nursing home. I could see where this was going, but I couldn't stop it. My daughter was manipulating her father-in-law into giving her more control over his life, and he was too weak to realize it. Soon enough, he signed over his power of attorney to my daughter. Now, she had complete control over his finances and could make decisions on his behalf. She started selling his property without asking for his permission. She cashed in his retirement funds and invested it in her own account. And she even emptied his bank accounts and transferred the money to another bank. And here's the worst part. She told her husband everything she had done. She bragged about how clever she was and how much money she had made. She even showed him the documents she had signed and said, "Now I own everything, Mr. Moneybags. Try and take it away from me." And that's when I knew I had to act. I confronted my daughter and told her that she had taken things too far. She threw me out of the house and called the police. I didn't press charges because I knew it would only make things worse. Instead, I went to her father-in-law and told him what my daughter had done. He was shocked. He didn't know any of this had happened until I told him. I then helped him file for divorce and take his power of attorney back. I also encouraged him to press charges against my daughter, but he didn't want to do any of that. He was too scared of my daughter and her husband. And here's the most hurtful thing. He asked me why I hated his son so much. And that's when I told him, your son doesn't deserve a second chance. He's lazy, manipulative, and entitled. I don't trust him as far as I can throw him. As for your daughter, she's toxic. She uses people to get what she wants and then throws them away like garbage. I don't want her anywhere near my granddaughter. The old man saw the truth in my words, but it was too late. My daughter had already brainwashed him. He refused to believe me and kicked me out of the house. Now, I rarely speak to my daughter, but I keep in touch with her cousin. She tells me that my daughter's father-in-law is bedridden once again. He had a stroke and needs someone to take care of him. Guess who he called? Yep, you guessed it, my daughter. She rushed to his side and took over his care. She told her husband that she would be staying with her father-in-law indefinitely. She also said that she would start charging him for being a homemaker. To say that I'm disgusted by my daughter is an understatement. I tried to warn her, but she wouldn't listen. Now she's reaping the consequences of her actions. And Karma is a cold, heartless mistress. Karma has a funny way of evening the score. Who knows? Maybe one day my daughter will realize the error of her ways and change her behavior. Until then, I'll continue to pray for her father-in-law and hope that he finds the help he needs. Well, that was our revenge. And if you liked this story, make sure to check out more just like it. Thanks for watching and make sure to tune in next time.